Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Bertram Lawson. I serve as the president and CEO for the YMCA of Greater Brandywine, where you are currently in our upper mainline YMCA, so welcome. We are very happy to be here, and right at this moment, I will take the opportunity to welcome some of our VIPs and guests. So first and foremost, since you are in the YMCA, I do want to acknowledge the fact that we have our board of directors here, so please welcome them and members of our staff team. And I'm honored to recognize our elected officials and other decision makers who are in the audience. And today, first and foremost, let's acknowledge our governor, Governor Josh Shapiro.
Thanks.
I believe we have Chester County Commissioner Josh Maxwell in the House, the chair. Good friend, Carolyn Cometta, Senator Carolyn Cometta. Senator Amanda Cappelletti. Senator Maria Collette. Senator John Kane. Senator Art Haywood. Representative Melissa Schusterman. Representative Matt Bradford. Representative Joe Hogan. Representative Tim Briggs. Representative Nancy Guest. Representative Joe Webster. We have Secretary Walker in the House. Secretary Mumin. And Secretary Arkush. And Dr. Cronin, President of the Delaware County Community College as well. So as the president and CEO of the YMCA of Greater Brandywine, I have the unique perspective on the state of childcare, the perspective of both an employer as well as a provider. I also have the perspective of a former parent of a bunch of childcare kids. I have 4 kids. The YMCAs across this great Commonwealth provides childcare services to more than 65,000 children in preschool, school-age childcare, making us one of the largest providers of childcare serving the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Here in Chester County, the YMCA of Greater Brandywine supports more than 4,500 children and families across our 8 locations for childcare, our 8 summer camp locations, and we are in partnership in 16 site locations with 6 school districts in our great county. Part of our mission to serve all, regardless of financial means, we provide upwards to $2 million in financial aid annually in support of child care, summer camp, and school-age enrichment programs, which, as we all know, are very important. The need is even greater in this year of 2024, but coming off of 2023, we as the YMCA provided 38% more of financial assistance to families in our child care programs than we did in 2022. That's a huge increase because we understand the need, and that support actually comes from donations of members in our community to support those that live amongst them. Despite our efforts, child care remains inaccessible to families. Since the global pandemic, more than 2,000 child care centers in our Commonwealth has actually closed permanently. This is not sustainable for families, employers, and the larger community. As a leader employer, in addition to being a child care provider, the YMCA of Greater Brandywine employs close to 1,800 staff in total, contributing almost $28 million back into Chester County's economic state. Many of our employees are working parents, including myself. We have experienced increased demands on our time and our wallets across our staff and across the population in our community. Unfortunately, many parents have been unable to return to work and contributing to the labor shortage that we all face. As a result, schools, child care providers like the YMCA of Greater Brandywine struggle to find teachers to care for children so that parents may return to work. Hope for our future. The expansion of the state child care tax credit will allow more parents to return to work and will benefit many YMCA employees as well that are working parents. Efforts such as allowing child care providers, large and small, to ensure growth and remain sustainable. Thus, we like to thank Governor Shapiro and members of the General Assembly here today and many other individuals and organizations that help with this effort. This includes our next speaker, my good friend Lori Mannion, President of the Chester County Chamber of Business and Industry. Indeed, Laura has not only led efforts here in Chester County, but helped organize a coalition of business organizations from across the state to address the child care crisis to assist both employers and employees. Turning it over to my good friend, Laura.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. As Bertram said, my name is Laura Mannion, and I have the pleasure of serving as the President and CEO of the Chester County Chamber of Business and Industry. But for the purpose of this event, the title that matters most to me is Mom. I want to start off by thanking you, Bertram, and your team for hosting us this morning. We're grateful for your ongoing partnership and support. And on a personal note, I would be remiss if I did not share how surreal this moment is for me, standing in the exact location I went to daycare 31 years ago. I also want to especially thank Pennsylvania House Democratic Leader Matt Bradford and our own Chester County legislative delegation, led by Representative Melissa Schusterman, who championed this effort. On behalf of our 500 chamber members, it is an honor to advocate for issues that will help our region grow, and dare I say, few that impact me personally and professionally as much as childcare. My husband and my 16-month-old son are here with me today, and we are expecting a sibling very soon. Hopefully not today. But when I first became pregnant with Nolan, I laughed off helpful mothers offering advice that I should begin my daycare search, thinking how silly it would be to look for daycare over a year in advance of when I would need it. That advice turned out to be well placed. After an exhaustive search and multiple year wait lists, I had to return to work with no daycare option. Due to flexible work accommodations and an empathetic board, I was able to bring Nolan to the office with me for over a month before we found care for him. My husband and I are one of the lucky ones. Our financial, familial, and employer situation were more supportive than most. According to the Pennsylvania Early Learning Investment Commission and Ready Nation's 2023 report, 56% of Pennsylvania parents surveyed report being late to work due to childcare struggles. More than half report missing full days of work, leaving work early, or being distracted at work due to childcare issues. They conclude by saying 1 in 4 parents say they've been reprimanded for these issues, and 18% have been fired or laid off from their job. While this issue resonated with me personally as chamber president representing hundreds of employers in Chester County, I heard from many members of the chamber who either lost valuable employees or who have been unable to recruit talent due to this childcare crisis. The lack of affordable and accessible childcare is hampering employers' ability to hire because workers can either not find childcare nor can they afford it. The lack of access to childcare does not just disrupt the family unit, it also affects our economy. The same report cited above estimates productivity problems cause Pennsylvania employers to lose $1.52 billion annually due to childcare challenges faced by their workforce. Facts are facts. Without a healthy childcare system, tax revenue declines, workers leave jobs, and production suffers. While this expansion is a monumental win, it's a huge victory for employers as well. Along with a few colleagues and early champions like my friend Trish McFarland, president of the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce, Philadelphia Chamber President Shelley Cameron, Matt Smith in Pittsburgh, friends in Reading, Lancaster, and Schuylkill counties, more than 50 chambers across this state signed on to a letter to our legislator advocating for the child and dependent care tax credit expansion. More importantly, the public servants standing behind me today knew this and they supported this legislation, and proudly Governor Shapiro signed it into law. I'm lucky to have the backing of a great board and staff who believed passionately in supporting my efforts and watching my son during meetings. Our chamber consultant, Alex Ron, was an excellent navigator during the sometimes tumultuous budget process. And while there is more work to be done on the child care crisis, this expansion of the child and dependent care tax credit is a first step in the right direction. So on behalf of working families, employers, my family, my kids, our generation, and future generations, let me say thank you to our elected officials here today. And now it's my honor to introduce Chester County native Majority Leader Matt Bradford, who took a lot of phone calls from me over the last couple of months and helped lead this legislation.
Good morning, everybody, and I want to congratulate Laura because she truly was tireless, and you were almost too kind because as this has gone on, this conversation that we've had for the better part of 18 months, a program that really started out as just an idea 18 months ago, to see it first get a foothold into the budget a year ago, and then with the massive expansion that Governor Shapiro signed just a few weeks ago. This is truly an example of government working and responding. And I just want to thank my colleagues for seeing this through, for fighting the good fight, particularly Representative Schusterman, who led the fight in our caucus to get this over the line. This is truly an example of the best in government, and I want to thank our elected officials who join us today. But I would be remiss, and Laura, we've had this conversation, and I know I've as a father of four, I've wrongly said, well, you know, this is a working mom's issue. And I got corrected many times, including by my own working mom, who would say many, many times, this is a working families issue. But what became really clear over the last few months, and with constant reminding from Laura, this is a business issue. The idea of this false choice that this is a challenge for just one segment of our population has been blown open. We need to be pro-business, and I believe we are. But we can be pro-mom, pro-family, pro-dad, pro-child. That is what this is about. And this also too often is viewed as, oh, well, this is a certain segment. This is for poor families. No, this is a true middle-class challenge. This is a working-class challenge in Montgomery and Chester County. This is a challenge in the true middle class. We sit here at the upper main line Y, recognizing that this expansion goes up to those families making up to over $400,000 a year. This is truly a credit for all Pennsylvanians in southeastern Pennsylvania and across this Commonwealth. And I must say, as representing some of those communities, too often we say, yeah, we're doing something, but the reality is the income limits won't reach you. We can't get to those folks in Montgomery and Chester County. We are specifically doing that with this program at this time. And I just want to thank everyone for recognizing the true nature of this challenge. It is much wider than we realized, and government really responded. I'm just so glad that the House took the lead in pushing this through over the last 18 months. I also want to thank our governor for steadfastly, I'm going to get that word right, or there's a word like that I'm going to find, who stood with us, and we continued this fight to get to the finish line, and we got here. And it is a great morning to be here in Berwyn with all these smiling faces, recognizing that we can respond and then we can do big things. And there is more to be done on the issue of competitiveness, on business climate, how we can be pro-worker, pro-workforce, and pro-business, how we can marry that up and do the big challenges that are still in front of us. I want to thank you, Laura, again for having me. I'm going to turn it back over, but recognizing the tremendous work. I also would be remiss, though, as I am going to turn it over to my Senate colleague, Senator Comita, of not recognizing the tremendous work in the Senate. Again, in a bipartisan way, as the governor reminds us, we're in a divided legislature, and that comes with specific challenges. But having leaders like Carolyn Comita, I would point out a former House member, so she knows something about fighting for the tough fights. But Carolyn Comita, who's been there in her time in the House and now in the Senate, recognizing this challenge, recognizing the need for it. Also, as a former Chester County native, my former state senator, Carolyn Comita, I call forward. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Matt. Good morning, friends. It is really an honor and a delight to be here with each of you to have our governor by our right side, legislators, and civic and business leaders, and all of you Thank you, because this is how we make really important changes, and this is a hugely important change. Again, Laura, thank you for your advocacy, for sharing your personal experience, and for navigating work and parenthood. It can be challenging for every family, and those challenges are only made more difficult by rising costs and lack of options, as we've been hearing. As a mother, grandmother, and former public school educator, I know just how important quality, affordable childcare is in setting our kids up for success for the future. But what we're emphasizing here today is that it's equally important for helping parents, guardians, families, and communities and businesses succeed. It's a fundamental part of the infrastructure that keeps our economy growing. Yesterday, I was speaking at a local Chamber of Commerce conversation when one of the members approached me after the discussion. He talked about his own background growing up as a child of immigrants. He mentioned how his father, at one point, worked not 2 but 3 jobs, partly because childcare was so expensive. And we talked about the challenges he and his wife faced as he launched a business and as she pursued first her master's and now her PhD, and as they raise a child with special needs. And what he said really stuck with me. He said, if parents have children, parents have childcare that they can count on. If they know that their kids are going to be cared for, fed, educated in a safe, positive environment, then that frees them up to go to work, to go to school, to pursue their dreams. That provides not only peace of mind, but freedom, the freedom to return to the workforce, advance careers, pursue new jobs, educational or entrepreneurial opportunities, which is why many people, like this person's parents, came to this country to begin with. Raising children and watching them grow into healthy, successful young people is a true joy. Working a job that you love, growing it into a successful career, contributing to your community, provides for your family and you a great joy. Pennsylvania families deserve the freedom to experience both and to do both. That is what this child care tax credit expansion is all about. It's a big step in that direction. I hope we can continue to work together to invest in working families and to support the child care industry, child care workers, and child care providers like the YMCA that is so graciously hosting us here today. And can we just take a moment and recognize these beautiful children who are sitting here. They are so attentive, and you are listening. This is really a lot of talking, isn't it? We're going just a little bit more. Thank you so much. So thank you everyone, and Bertram for welcoming us today in the Upper Main Line Y. And now it is my pleasure to introduce my friend and my colleague, State Representative Melissa Schusterman, who has truly been a champion on this issue.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Thank you, Governor. Today is a great day, an extraordinary day. I grew up right here in Berwyn, and my mother worked out of the house. My brother and I came to this very YMCA for early learning, after-school programs and camps. One of the camps, we got to sleep overnight in, this part of the Y, which was what we would call the Haunted Mansion. So it was fabulous. When I had a son of my own, I would not have been able to pursue a career and make a better life for ourselves if it wasn't for the YMCA. So this is deeply personal for me because I know how crucial access to affordable and high-quality childcare is for working moms. Early childhood education is the foundation that sets our children up for future success. I've had the privilege of kind of touring a lot of our early education places, and it's incredible what you learn from the teachers as well as from the children. Children actually learn soft skills like sharing, empathy, and cooperation, skills that are essential in today's world, and skills that we desperately need more of in our communities. Every day, women and working families across the Commonwealth struggle to make ends meet, and this tax credit will help alleviate some of the financial burden of raising a family. This is a lifeline. I recently met a young mother named Kayla who just gave birth to her third child. You have to catch up. Her eyes lit up when I explained what the tax credit does. She said this extra money means she can continue to be a special education teacher. This money means women and families will not have to face so many tough decisions over childcare. Actually, this morning, I spoke to Caroline, and she said this tax credit would mean her childcare is no longer exceeds her mortgage. We talked about that, right, Laura? Her childcare will no longer exceed her mortgage. I mean, that's incredible. So I've been going around talking to everyone. I've interrupted people in line at Wegmans. I mean, it's been... For some people are like, what is this woman doing? But once I talk about it, people are excited. And that's why I'm honored to be standing here today with Governor Shapiro. It was no small feat to get this done for Pennsylvania. My colleague, Rep. Tina Davis, and I we both worked together on a bill, and then the bill folded into the fiscal code. We would like to thank our leader, Bradford, Speaker McClinton, for championing our legislation. It took a coalition advocating hard on behalf of working women and working families to push this through. And a special thanks to Laura from the Chester County Chamber. We had a lot of phone calls. We were at war every day. We're like, all right, put your battle suits on, let's go. We gotta help with childcare. And I want to thank all her colleagues across this state for their support. And lastly, I would like to thank the YMCA for providing the vital care that families need. This tax credit demonstrates that working women and working families are being seen by the business community for their important economic role that they play in the Commonwealth. That's critical. As a working parent, you often don't feel seen, especially as working mothers. So this really matters. I've learned everything I know about juggling childcare, work, and life from my mother. And she was thrilled that I would be standing here talking about this. And she also asked about her governor. So I have the pleasure of introducing my mother's governor to the podium right now.
Thanks, everybody. I'm proud to be Representative Schusterman's mother's governor and to be all your governors, and to every shopper at Wegmans. I just want you to know, when Schusterman shows up in line talking to you, it's going to be about something important, and you should listen when she shows up. Representative Schusterman, thank you for your kind words, but most importantly, thank you for your strong leadership. This was no easy task, and you helped get it done. We are profoundly grateful to you. And I want to say how thankful I am to the leadership of the House of Representatives, led by Leader Bradford here today, along with Representative Briggs and Genst and Hogan and Webster. Y'all made sure that this issue was front and center in all of the conversations, and I am so grateful for the House leaders in pushing this forward. We appreciate you very, very much. Now, as has been acknowledged, nothing happens unless it can pass in both chambers. And we had tremendous partners in the Senate. Senator Comita, our local state senator. Do you shop at Wegmans as well? Do we need to put people on alert? Senator Comita, who was just an awesome leader on this issue, together with her colleagues, Senators Haywood and Capoletti, Collette, and Kane, who join us here today. We are thankful to each and every one of you for helping get this done. Folks have heard me say this many times before. In our administration, we've got a GSD attitude, and in the presence of children, I'll just say that means get stuff done. That is what we do. We get stuff done, and I'm proud to be joined today by several leaders in my administration who focus on getting stuff done every single day. Our Secretary of Education, Dr. Khalid Mumin, is with us. Our Secretary of the Department of Human Services, Dr. Val Arkush, is with us. And our Secretary of Labor and Industry, Nancy Walker, is with us. All three of them had a strong hand in making sure we not only prioritize the issue of childcare, but that we help get it done. Look, this expanded childcare tax credit is a prime example of government working together to deliver real and tangible results for the good people of Pennsylvania. Together, we are cutting costs, we are putting money back in people's pockets, and we are helping families. And again, I just have to say thank you to the House Democratic Coalition that helped bring this issue forward and helped get it done. Because of them, we are in a position to put this money back in people's pockets all across Pennsylvania. You know, as I've traveled across this great Commonwealth, I've heard firsthand from Pennsylvanians who are really challenged by rising costs. They told me how, of course, it feels like the price of everything, from groceries to childcare, is just increasing, and they need a little bit of extra help to be able to get by. On the campaign trail, I promised that we would help cut costs and put more money back in the pockets of Pennsylvanians. And thanks to this coalition we have here and others who couldn't be with us today, that is exactly what we are doing. In just my first year as governor, I'm proud that we've come together in a bipartisan manner to deliver on that promise of cutting costs for folks young and old here in Pennsylvania. Consider this for a moment. Together, we expanded the property tax rent rebate and delivered the largest targeted tax cut for our seniors in nearly 2 decades in Pennsylvania. That means an additional 175,000 seniors are going to get access to a tax cut, and the tax cut that folks were getting before is going to nearly double. But of course, it's not just about seniors. We're helping parents and young families too through this expansion, this dramatic expansion of the child care tax credit here in Pennsylvania. You've heard from these other speakers about what this means for individuals, for families, for moms and dads, for their budgets, and for businesses. Let me break this down in terms of what it means in practical terms for everyday Pennsylvanians. We all know, of course, that child care is really expensive. As Chairwoman Moskowitz and Commissioner Maxwell know, here in Chester County, parents often spend more than $15,000 every year just on child care. For many families around here, that's about 10% of their annual income. And that's just the cost of caring for one child. Look, I get this. I'm not just your governor. I'm a father of 4 children. I know how expensive they can be, right? Right? That came out wrong, by the way. I just want to state for the record, I love my children very much, and I hope no one tells the First Lady that I just said that. But look, places here like the Upper Main Line, why? They're doing all they can, I know, to keep the costs of child care down. But there are, you know, even with these meaningful efforts by the YMCA, there's families all across Pennsylvania who need help to make child care more accessible. And this tax credit that these folks fought incredibly hard for, well, that delivers for them. It puts real money back in people's pockets. So starting this year, this is one of those things you gotta wait years and years to get. Starting this year, right now, in 2024, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania will now match 100% of the federal child care tax credit that Pennsylvanians receive on their tax returns. Let me break this down. Let me break this down a little bit further as to what kind of progress we made. In the past, Pennsylvania only matched 30% of that federal credit. Now we're matching 100%. Let me give you a concrete example of what this means for a family here in Chester County, or for that matter, anywhere in Pennsylvania. For a lower income family with 2 kids in childcare, their refundable tax credit this past year in 2023 was $630. A nice credit, but only $630. Starting this year, that same family is going to get $2,100, from $630 to $2,100 immediately. That's more than triple. That is huge, and that is real money back in people's pockets. That is cutting costs for Pennsylvanians who are really struggling. This is going to help 210,000 Pennsylvania families, including Senator Committee and Representative Schusterman. You need to know it's 11,000 families in Chester County alone that are going to get this help. You've heard from the other speakers about how this is the right thing to do, and it is the right thing to do. It's also the smart thing to do, and that is why we did it together, because when we make it a little bit easier for Pennsylvanians to find care for their children and loved ones, well, guess what? We all benefit from that, even if we don't have children in childcare right now. Let me explain what I mean by that. You see, here in Pennsylvania, you heard this a moment ago, our economy loses about $3.5 billion every year in lost earnings, productivity, and tax revenue because families can't access reliable, consistent childcare. Laura Mannion, who you heard from a moment ago, and Laura, it's great that you've not had your second child during this press conference. I'm going to do my best to wrap this up. It's not over yet. Laura knows this, together with her husband, knows this better than anyone, as a mom and as the president of the Chester County Chamber. Laura and her team at the Chamber have been unbelievably strong advocates for this. And you might wonder, okay, why is a Chamber of Commerce leader involving themselves in a child care issue? Because it makes sense. You see, if we can address the child care issue, that strengthens our businesses, that strengthens our workforce. And Laura understands that incredibly well. When families can afford reliable child care, parents get back to work. Businesses don't lose out on great employees, and kids get the early learning opportunities like these folks are getting to help them get set up for success. You know what this is? This is common sense, and this is good government. We owe it to Pennsylvanians to make these kind of investments that cut costs, put money back in their pockets, and help our families succeed. So for every family out there in Pennsylvania that needs just a little bit more help, well, these folks have delivered for you. And here's what you need to know now. Nearly every single Pennsylvanian who's caring for a child or a loved one who claims that child as a dependent now qualifies for this relief. But to get the state credit, it's pretty simple. To get the state credit, you just have to file for the federal tax credit too, because the Commonwealth, again, is going to match not 30%, but how much? 100% of what you receive from the federal government. The process we've set up is really simple and easy. When you're filling out your taxes later this spring, whether you use an online system like MyPath or TurboTax or some account, or you try and do it yourself, just make sure you claim the child and dependent tax credit on both your federal and your state tax forms. And if you want to learn more, we set up a really easy website to navigate, pa.gov/childcare tax credit, pa.gov/childcare tax credit, and that'll walk you through exactly how to get that 100% match from the state. Look, we are making together a real difference for families all across Pennsylvania. We are cutting costs and putting more money back in people's pockets. And as Leader Bradford alluded to earlier, I'm the only governor in the nation that has a divided legislature, meaning one chamber is led by Democrats and one is led by Republicans. And so that necessitates compromise. It necessitates coming together. It necessitates Democrats and Republicans working together on common sense things. that are going to help put money back in people's pockets, strengthen our economy, strengthen families, and strengthen our businesses and our labor unions. And that is exactly what we are doing here. We are committed to GSD here in Pennsylvania, getting stuff done. And that's exactly what these lawmakers have done, and that's exactly the deliverable that now comes for the good people of Pennsylvania in the form of this historic child care tax credit. So I'm proud to be here to symbolize the importance of getting this done, and now to have the opportunity to answer any questions from the media. Any of us would be happy to, and then we'll wrap up and let these kiddos get back to class, okay? Thank you all very, very much. Any questions from the media for Leader Bradford? And kids, guess what? Y'all are going to get free Bradford quarter zips when this is over. That's true. Any questions, Kayla? All right. Thank you all very, very much. Good job. Good job.